think that's always a good way to start.
All right, so let's go to here. 90. Groups. Oh, discussions. All right, 2 questions.
Are you guys recording already? I'm sorry.
No, not yet. We're trying to get it down a little bit before we go.
Oh, I was recording. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Oh no.
That's like 2 minutes.
Is there any way to stop and restart?
I can pause it. I'll pause it.
Okay, so we're on week 3 group discussion. And discussion topic number 1 will be let's go to right after Susan G. Kogeman's decision, your Planned Parenthood's leadership team. Plan your media response knowing SGK's decision will be live in 2 days. So what do you think, team?
I think you kind of mirror what Planned Parenthood actually did in reality. I think what the beauty of it was that it was so organic. Like, I don't think Planned Parenthood knew it was going to happen. So when it happened, I think they reacted in a very positive way that allowed them to send like a clear message. So I think for me, from my perspective, if I was addressing the media, if I was their spokesperson, I would maybe start off by, thanking the Corn Foundation for the 30-some or whatever length amount of time and I would probably throw in some facts about how many people have been helped through their donation, how many lives we have impacted. Kind of throw some stats and then just kind of, throw out the news that way. Kind of like, I don't know, like thank you for everything, but because you're cutting this sword, you're gonna impact so many lives. We won't be able to help so many lives.
Yeah, I think they didn't prep that properly when I read the article. They should have already started sending out emails and promos saying, hey, we may be splitting, but we've been working as a team. The things that we're doing are not going to stop. We just don't want to be politically involved or whatever it would have been the decision. I don't think they did any of that stuff until after the fact. And then even after they started trying to do catch up on everything, it was already too late. Like within a week or 2, she had to come back and apologize and actually go back together, So to plan the media response is, start mobilizing your base. I think there was an issue with the age difference. I think maybe the Kogeman people tend to be a little bit older and not so media savvy, where the Planned Parenthood people probably might have been younger. I'm just guessing. I'm not sure. But that's what I think would lead to them being more dominant on media. I don't know. What do you think?
Dominique, the floor is yours.
Sorry, I'm just going back through the case.
But I think the question is more tailored towards, like, if you're Planned Parenthood, right? If you're the one that got the news that your funding stopped, like, how do you prepare your statement towards the media, right? That's a question, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a question. I don't know. I think what they did is right. I mean, exactly what you said.
Yeah, what they did, I think they handled it very properly, and I mean, you see the results that it cost. And I think for me, what kind of stood out was like the way they were able to mobilize right away, and just making sure to engage with the people that were invested, not only like financially but also emotionally, in the product and the mission that they serve. And I think that was very strategic. Like, they touch on all the right points, they said all the right words.
Well, I think like right people, right time. Like, they have the right people in the right position to handle it. They also said that that it was outside of them. Like, a lot of the response was done by people that were supporters, and they couldn't necessarily do it because of the nature of their organization. Like, it's partially funded by the government. So, but as soon as the people started doing like what I forgot what it was called, how it affected them or how they used it, then they just jumped on. They're like, "Yep, see," and they started tagging them on all of their stuff. So, I don't know. What is there? Is there anything else they could have done differently? Um, I don't really think so. I think that they handled it the best they could when they could, with what they had.
No, they really took advantage. I want to say it's an intentionally because I don't think they were prepared to lose, but I think they really took advantage of the opportunity and just brought a lot of awareness. And I think, if I was a media spokesperson for Planned Parenthood, I think that would have been an approach I would have taken to just bringing awareness and education to the public as to what exactly it is that we offer.
I think I would agree with that only because you don't want to, even though you want to have like a response kind of like right when everything is going on, I think you still want to be strategic and make sure that you still address your followers and even those who may not even be your followers, those who are kind of just like following the story, following like the what's going on between the two organizations. I still feel like you should be strategic in what you say just to make sure that you don't have to like backtrack or retract any of your statements. So I would have to agree with Ricardo on that one.
Yeah. I think like you don't want to come out as like the bitter aunt or like that grumpy older sister or younger sister, whatever. You just want to be professional about it, and to me, like just touching on the facts. Okay, unfortunately, we have been informed that this organization is no longer going to be funding not Planned Parenthood, but it's not longer going to be funding the $20,000 screenings per year that we're offering through the donation that we received through the organization. I think that kind of spoke in volume, and then just kind of share some experiences, some of the impact that that funding has or had in that moment, and just kind of just brought a lot of awareness and education as opposed to like trying to be bitter about it. Even though if inside I may have been fuming, but just have to be the bigger person about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a shock, like to be the organization, be like, I'm shocked this happened. Even if you might have known that it was going to happen, like they've been sending stuff, try to play up on your people, like you said, what do you say? No publicity is bad publicity. So as long as you get your name brand out there and you're doing it, you're at least you can still be making those funds, even though you may not be partnered anymore.
Yeah, I would definitely reassure the people saying, hey, even though we're no longer partnering with this organization, we still want to assure you that our mission still stands as far as supporting women's health, and we're still going to continue offering these services, and we're going to, I guess, work on how to continue to offer, or we're going to figure out how to move forward with the services that we were providing before.
Yeah, and we could use your help.
I wouldn't ever want to like trash another organization's name, like even though I may like be upset to my core,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like you still want to protect your own reputation.
We still have to be politically correct, I think is a term.
Mm-hmm.
No, that makes sense.
And I think for me, I would just the other thing I would probably do is kind of use it as a pitching opportunity to hopefully bring in not only awareness, to the subject matter, but also to, hopefully bring in additional resources of people who might be willing to step up and fill in the gap, to try to make a positive out of it. It's like, okay, unfortunately this happened and go and see, but if you're interested in continuing supporting women's health and providing, X, Y, and Z to all these individuals, please visit our website or please contact so-and-so, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a pitching opportunity as well. I mean, you're going to have an audience already. The worst thing that can happen,
No, that makes sense. And I mean, they kind of did that, which was good. But I think it's important whenever you're a nonprofit. I mean, your funding is based off of people helping you. You have to be neutral. You have to be okay to say, we're doing what we're doing. We don't really care what political side it falls on, but this is what we do. They're pulling out. We could use the help since we're losing that funding. Straight and clear. No, trying to get in there. And if anything organic happens, like happened with them, where people were saying, this is how I used it, that's fine. Like if your followers, the people that use your service, want to be political, that's on them. But you don't want to get yourself tangled up in that, because you get more money, more funding, more volunteers if you're neutral than if you're for one side or the other. You know, you're cutting out probably 50, possibly 50% of the people that could be helping you. You know.
And I think just kind of to continue engaging in the discussion, I think one of the things that I would have done is try to avoid mentioning the current. I think it talked about there was a current investigation. I would have avoided mentioning the investigation. I think that would have been kind of like pointing fingers or playing the blaming game. I would have definitely avoided that, and I think staying neutral would have been highly important. And then just awareness and education would have been like the big keys.
It's true. I don't know. Let me go back to the questions, see if I can get some more out of this. And after reading this, I think organizations should already have some kind of response set up for different situations, not like a fully vetted one, but just like one kind of like, okay, what happens when we lose somebody? What happens if this event happens where we become unpopular? What happens, and so you can kind of pull on that already, like kind of contingency plans for stuff like that.
Sometimes it takes these types of events though to help you realize that you need these types of plans set in place. Because by the time that this kind of happens, these organizations are still they're not new or young, but they're still kind of like early,
right?
Still kind of young organizations, so they may not have ever been faced with something like this. So,
That's true. Well, I mean, right now it is different. Like you don't usually get political infighting on nonprofits. I mean, you always will have like groups that are different from what they believe. But for one to just totally switch on it, just kind of shows kind of the political train right now, I mean, you can just watch it by turning on the news. Everybody's at war, basically, and you don't really want to get caught up in that. It kind of leads into the question too. What unique skills, strategies, or character qualities are needed to handle these challenges? I think that's one of them. You got to be neutral. You got to put your stuff aside.
The thing is, though, how do you remain neutral when your funding is coming from organizations that are not neutral?
Well, and like Ricardo said, that you got to play it up. You got to use it and say, okay, well, that's fine. You're gonna go, but
I think I just want to backtrack a little bit, talking about. I think you, Dennis, you mentioned about like you, or Dominique, I think it was you. I'm sorry. I think you talk about like being prepared for these type of events. So like just thinking about it and brainstorming. I think like one of the first things I would do is I would talk to the board of my organization and just kind of give them like specific instructions not to address the media themselves, not to speak to any reporters, to anybody, because you don't want different messages to be being shared around. You wouldn't want any of your board members to express any of their personal opinions or personal frustrations. You wouldn't want any of that bad press to get out. And then I would talk to my staff, especially to my management team, to make sure that they as well not speak or comment on the matter. Just because even if any of them were to like post anything on social media, even in one of their personal pages, I think that would have had a negative impact. It would have come out as like a little bitter. So that's kind of some of the things I would have done to prepare. Just kind of kept everybody quiet and just done one major press release or whatever from the CEO or whatever.
I think it's kind of unique though to nonprofits because people do it passionately. And passionately helping you for your organization. It's kind of hard to control people if passion's what leads people to your organization in the first place. I agree with that, and you can probably control your team, your specific management team, or whatever it may be, or even the board might be agreeing with you. But once you get down to the lower level, people are going to say what they're going to say, and then just happen to work out their advantage. The passion of the people that worked for Planned Parenthood were all about it, but you can't really stop them, unfortunately. But I agree with you. I mean, you try to play as much collateral, like keep as much collateral damage down as you can.
And I think that's kind of one of the we can even, I guess we can go back and forth with the other question. That's one of the unique things about nonprofits, and I've kind of spoken about it in some of my journals, is that when you work for a nonprofit, you really don't work just a 9 to 5. You're kind of married into this job because it's associated with you wherever you go. You know what I mean? Because you're almost a walking advertisement or a brand of this agency. So you really have to sacrifice a lot of your personal life to kind of adjust to this role. So to me, that's fairly unique.
You think that's unique to nonprofits though? You don't think that's universal?
It can be universal, but I think with nonprofits, because there's a specific mission, I think it's a little bit more challenging. Like, like for example, I don't know, just for me, if I'm at a bar and I'm drinking and I see one of my tenants, I'll probably leave the bar, or somebody that I work with, somebody that I help or that I receive some of the services that we offer. I'll probably leave the bar just out of professional ethics. And let's say if I worked at a bank and I saw one of the customers going to the bank, I probably would offer them a drink.
I see. It's kind of, or I get it. And
Does that
like,
make
it's
sense?
like, no, that totally makes sense. Like, it's organic. You are the advertisement. You are the organization. Um,
I
I work for federal government, and so there's guidelines to it, but you still have certain set. As long as I'm not wearing like a pin, that's fine. Like, I can say my feelings. But you're right. There's a little bit more constraints, which I've never thought about for nonprofits. Like, you are the nonprofit.
Yeah.
There is an on off.
I think it depends on the type of nonprofit too. Like you can have like a Planned Parenthood where like the intent and motives and the mission is clearly stated, but then you have less focused, for lack of a better term, nonprofits. Like if you have like a tutoring, like an after school program or something, that one is not as directed at a specific cause per se, to where like you're kind of under the watch. Like for example, like if you worked for a Planned Parenthood, I don't know, you wouldn't want to be found in like a, I don't know, like a men's superiority bar or whatever, for like. But like if I worked at a after school program, it probably wouldn't be looked at as, as intensely. So I think it kind of depends on the type of nonprofit.
True. It's you don't want to get off work from Planned Parenthood and hold up a sign saying like pro-life, I hate this place, kind of thing, right?
Right.
You don't want to go to mass or to church in your.
Well, not necessarily, but you wouldn't want to be like doing the negative stuff on them,
No, but yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like there's definitely a change in the way you live your personal life that kind of impacts, your professional life as well.
See, so I don't know if you like, I don't know how much you read of the chapter for this week, but it's talking a lot about how organizations adapt and change to like one, funding, two, like the environment, like other organizations. And it was saying, and these are just different ideas. They're not necessarily true, but just kind of how to look at organizations. And they're saying that if a majority of your funding is from bureaucracy, like from the federal government, then you tend to pick up the federal
Bureaucracy.
ways of doing business. If you get private funding, then you're gonna the business that gives you the most money, you're more care about, so you're gonna kind of pick up their thing. With nonprofits, it's kind of like we want people to be who they are to come in. I mean, it keeps it more authentic. But you're right, based off of what kind of it is, then it does change the atmosphere or the culture of it. But it's hard to say. You do want it to adapt and you want to change. I don't think you want to stifle it. So if your organization starts changing the way it does business and to survive, that's kind of the nature of the way, especially if your funding is not assured. You're going to have to change a little bit. Now, I was kind of mentioning earlier, you got to have that core, that root, what the idea of your organization is. As long as you keep to that, you're going to have to adapt and change eventually. Economy goes down, economy goes up. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I totally agree, especially because like with nonprofits, I think I think people who join nonprofits have an understanding, like funding and resources very limited. So unless you are like intrinsically like attached to it, I feel like maybe nonprofits aren't for you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think because they're so mission driven that you really have to be on board with it because, yeah.
Like you're the underdog. I think there's successful ones, but a lot of times you're not. You're trying to like keep afloat with what you got, you know.
Hmm. I agree. I definitely agree.
But again, I'm you have to. My knowledge of nonprofits is so small. There are some successful, like the one that we were doing, the kids one, where they're making millions. They're going international. That they don't have any problems like that. I'm sure if they drop donors, they're cool. Like they're like whatever, you know. They're funded for a while.
Yeah,
So
but like my issue with those like type of nonprofits, it's just my personal issue. And call me crazy. It's just a lot of times like these large nonprofits who receive millions and billions of dollars, they're controlled by people who are trying to not necessarily achieve the mission of the nonprofit, but they're just trying to feel better about themselves. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like I don't know how legit I feel about some of these large nonprofits. I feel like most of them, and it's just my assumption, are just kind of set up to kind of, write off money, really. You know what I mean?
there was something on, and it was like the last part of the chapter, something about the United Way, and saying that they like funding would go through them, and they would put it out to the different other smaller nonprofits. And when people started doing it online, or trying to do it more like ground level, the United Way started losing power, started losing their ability to focus way organizations worked, and so they even had to redo their model. So you're yeah, you're right. I think that
I mean, that was kind of the story with ARC too.
Yeah.
At first they started off with just hosting events and people could donate wherever they wanted, but they didn't like that people chose where the money went. They wanted to be able to determine what organizations and what causes received money. So that was a control issue there. As much positive as they were doing, they still wanted to be able to control it.
It's true.
I've been to a couple of those type of like dinners or like fundraising galas, and it's all a show. That's all it is. But they do like silent auctions, and then it's just basically people flaunting their money. You know what I mean? Like, in the moment, there's a spotlight. Spotlight's on you. You know what I mean? If you have resources like that, it just kind of becomes like I got this. I have money. I'll take care of it. And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know how I personally feel about like large nonprofits.
Well, unfortunately, I mean that's the way it works. You have to give them a little leeway. Like some people just want to do it to show. Well, that's fine. I'll take your money, and you can do a gala. That's fine. As long as you're helping the children or the center or whatever it may be, that's fine. I mean, to reason. I don't want like crazy like we got like $1 million singer coming in and all kinds of stuff like that. But I think that part of it is that you show appreciation to those that give funding. It doesn't necessarily have to be like red carpet, whatever. But I mean, I think that's part of it. You should put in your funding, like we're gonna get together because these are like-minded people, and you want to grow them and you want to network them, and see what comes out from them. I don't know.
We had one of our board members. Her family, her and her husband, they're like these attorneys. They donated $50,000 to one of our scholarship programs. And it was cool, they got the whole applaud, they got recognition. But then, like, when it came to, like, managing the way the program was operating, like I didn't like how they wanted to dictate the way things were going to go. And to me, that's where, like, I have issues with like, you know what I mean? It's like, whoa, I mean, thank you for the money, but, you know what I mean? Like, we've been doing this longer than you've been a part of this, so we kind of have an idea of how to manage this,
Yeah, that's where you're like, oh, get a notebook.
I just
write down your ideas, and we'll look at them, and we'll take them into consideration. Thanks. Yeah, if you write another $50,000 check, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I feel like that was a small scale. It was a situation in a smaller scale, but like imagine if you donate half a million or $1 million to a nonprofit, you kind of want to have some at least I would think that some of these people believe they kind of have some leverage, and that's kind of what was happening at the Ark. It's like people thought because they're contributing significant amount of money that they had a pool, that they had some sort of authority over the nonprofit, and that's kind of where, I think it's one of the things that's unique with the nonprofits, that you kind of have to find the fine line of, tailoring towards your donors. Obviously, you need that money, but at the same time, establishing roles and identities as to, what kind of involvement they're really going to have in your nonprofit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm going to go back to this question and see if I can pull anything else out of this. There's there's a certain amount of give that goes with that. I'm sure you're going to be aware of the way the donors are, so I don't think you would be so necessarily upset with them. If someone comes out and tries to say it, at what point do you draw a line and say, we don't need your funding, thank you very much, because that in itself could be offensive. All of a sudden you have someone that's against your cause. They're dropping $50,000, $500,000 on a cause that's against your cause. So there's a fine line.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it.
That's a challenge.
Dr. Szilard could tell us.
To me, that's kind of like one of the major challenges that you face as a nonprofit, like establishing boundaries. You know what I mean? Like establishing a comfort zone. How to what extent are you willing to kind of give a little bit to these large donors? You know what I mean? And where do you draw your line? Where do you establish that barrier? Okay, well, this is it. You know what I mean?
I think that's where your integrity comes into play. Like you have to understand that. I think you just have to realize and stay on board with what your mission is and what your goals are. And as soon as you start to divert from that, then you have to, start separating from certain people and certain donors and other partnerships that you have when your mission starts to become lost in the mix. So.
Well, I was thinking like the way that turned out, I would necessarily be scared to interact with other organizations, like to partner sister organizations where they have some political wing, because I'm like, that's not what I'm about. But if I want to be able to cut with you and do something else, I should be able to have the free will to do that, And it doesn't seem like that. It seems once you partner with someone, especially if it's something that has like a high optics, with the public, it's kind of, you're stuck. You either stay together or you're going to have the worst breakup ever, So I don't know how that would affected any future nonprofits about teaming up with like maybe government organizations or stuff like that. It wasn't covered in the thing. It was just something I thought about when I was reading that. I'm like, whoa, I would be scared to work with either company right now.
I don't know though, because I just feel like collaboration is kind of, I think it's essential for nonprofits. I think it's just a matter of not risking the integrity of your organization, but I really think that it's necessary for nonprofits, especially considering like the complexities and achieving goals and such. I just think they need to be wary of who they partner with, and then also being willing to separate. And they don't always have to be nasty separations like this Planned Parenthood and Komen separation, so.
I definitely agree that there has to be some sort of way to like leverage the resources. You have to as part of, being in the nonprofit industry. And I think both of you are right with, establishing partnerships with other nonprofits to kind of try to achieve the same mission. And I think for me, what's really important is that your leadership team or your CEO, that they commit to their nonprofit, they stick to their mission, they completely put their ego aside. Because a lot of times, you see a lot of nonprofit leaders kind of start, doing something positive, they start getting some momentum, but then they start getting a little greedy here, or they start, start trying to become larger maybe at a pace that's not quite essential for them at that moment, then kind of that's when you see a lot of like nonprofits go down, or a lot of nonprofits not being fully successful, because you kind of let greed take over the mission of your agency and what you're actually trying to accomplish.
And you need good multimedia people too, apparently, because if not, you're gonna get. We got 36 seconds. Any closing comments?
On which one? Question 1, question 2, both?
Oh no, just question 1. We're about to move on to question 2. I think we covered it pretty well. I don't know about anything else.
I think if I were the media person for Planned Parenthood, I would have done exactly what they did.
That's right. I get hired somewhere else. I get a job at Google or something. All right, so we're down. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start for the next question, which I think has a little bit more information, a little bit easier to kind of talk about. That was okay though. I don't think that was that bad. Okay. Restarting now. All right. Question number 2. What is the unique about leading a nonprofit organization? What unique skills, strategies, and character qualities are needed to handle these challenges that might be different from those needed in for-profit or public organization? I think we touched a lot on that during the last segment, but I think that's why we put the questions together, because they kind of coincide with each other. I don't know. What do you say off the top of your head? What is the most unique thing about being a nonprofit leader?
Financial security.
Yeah.
That's one.
Limited resources.
Limited resources.
Balancing, more so. I mean, you got to be neutral, or at least as much as you can be, unless you're going for that market where you're like, I'm just all about this, you know. Especially when you're starting, you want to get as much funding, I think, as you can, and as much people helping you. Again, there's so many different kind of nonprofits. It's kind of hard to say.
I think there will be a lot of sacrifice. Some of the other challenges is just kind of maintaining keeping talented staff, you know, a good retention, finding quality employees and just keeping them, really.
So how do you get these top-notch employees when you're on limited resources, when they can make double in the for-profit world?
I don't know if you guys took the leadership course already.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what class number it is, but you have to be like an inspirational leader. You got to strike people's heart chord, and then they have to be like, yeah, I see that. I feel that. I think that's unique. You have to be a strong leader. I think at first, once you're established, I don't think you really need to. You just have to be good or efficient or well at what you do. But at beginning, you got to have people feel your drive or your reason for doing something. I think. I don't know. I've never had a nonprofit. So
then too, I think to kind of go along with what you're saying, Dennis, even more so than like keeping people like on board with excited about the mission, I think at the core people still have to like agree with the mission, you know, even on like at their core, you know, because it's hard for me to, like, if I were to join a nonprofit for battered women, it would be hard for me, and we were on limited resources. Like, if I had the opportunity to go somewhere else and make more money, I probably would take it unless I like really
How dare you
resonated with the organization.
Yeah, Dominique, I can't believe you just said that. I really had a different vision of you.
Well, that'll be question number 3. But it makes sense. I mean, but that's always the problem. Even with my job, they started doing the home, like you can work from home thing to try to incentivize people staying. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, no one quits my job. Once you're in there, you're in. So I don't even know why they said that. But it makes sense if you're a nonprofit, like, hey, maybe we'll incentivize you by staying home so you can be with your kids or your sick parents or whatever it may be, you know. But that comes with good leadership. Like, that stuff you got to think out before you even started, you know. And you have to either research or you have to experience it, and that's the problem. Like, if you're not touched by something, you're probably not going to donate, and you're probably give time. You know, we got Facebook, we got other things that are pressing, so it becomes important that you have good leadership skills. You know, or even better, I heard somewhere, I don't know where it was, but if you're not good at it, you have people under you that are really good at what they do, so that they're sustaining the organization. If you don't have the skills, because our skill set, you can be the best at whatever, your skill set's not going to match everything.
Mhm.
So that I know that you need help and know that you don't know everything, I think would be good. Humble,
Yeah.
mindfulness. I don't know what would fit that.
I think part of it too would be like developing a really good strategic plan as to, okay, what's your mission and what exactly do you want to do and how do you want to accomplish it. I think once you have a concrete idea of what you want to do and you know how you're going to get there and you're just looking for the resources, I think we have a large pool of retired folks who are willing to contribute a lot of their time if they can connect to the mission, of course. So I think if you can sell it, and I kind of want to connect it to the way the professor was talking in class about, who wants to read this paper, who's interested in this. If you can find something catchy, if you can find a way to sell your vision to someone or to a group of people, and you get their buy-in, I think that's definitely the start to establishing your nonprofit with very limited resources.
Yeah, I think that also you have to have like benchmarks or different levels of success.
Mhm.
Because if it starts up and it doesn't catch, you got to be like, okay, how far are we going to push this through before we say it's no good or it's not going to happen? On the other token, I need $1 million, and within 2 weeks you get $1 million. Like, oh, I got $1 million. What do I do now? So uh, I think that part of planning anything is you have to figure out, what if I'm very successful? What if I'm not very successful?
Mhm.
At what point do I throw it in, or what time do I merge with someone else, or what time do I give up and start another organization, or whatever it may be. I think that it's like you're saying, the strategic plan. I think it's important. What you said, Dominique, about I forgot the word to use, but same thing. The strategic plan of the organization is very important. Um, and it says, what unique skills, strategies, or character qualities are needed to handle these challenges that might be different from the other organizations? So, what
Mhm.
skills?
I think you have to be a good salesman or saleswoman. You have to be able to sell yourself and sell your mission, really.
True. Very
Uh,
true.
that's part of it. It's
But
and
it's different from those than for profit. So I feel like being able to sell yourself is something that you need both in nonprofit and for profit.
Like car salesman.
Getting people on board of your mission, I think that's for both for profit and nonprofit.
I think having someone go in and not necessarily thinking money is what you're gonna get, because time or and knowledge or networks, or like, you take what you can get from anybody. I think that's the difference. It's almost like a yard sale. I'll take whatever you're getting. Well, in public sector, you're helping the public, and in private sector, you're trying to make the money. And we want all that, but we want everything else too that we can get. You got some desks you don't need? Hand them over. We'll use them. That type of stuff. Again, that's ground level. Once you're like making millions of dollars, you're not going to actually do that, but you're still going to be doing other things as well. You're going to need other things. Let's see
so,
what
so
other.
I guess my question is like, so pretty much running a nonprofit is like running a business. So you technically would need a business plan for your nonprofit as well, right?
That's
You
right.
have to manage it, right, financially as well.
I think that's one of the unique things is you have to take those two in consideration. So it's a three-pronged thing. You can just be in a business and just make business and get money, as long as you get dividends to your shareholders, you're doing well. And if you're in the public sector, if you have a lot of people come in here and you can just take count of how many people came in your office, you're like, we helped 1,000 people.
Yeah.
You're good. Then Congress will be like, oh, great job. Here's some more money. Like for us, that necessarily doesn't happen. And it was saying in the book that nonprofits are like, there's like the failure theory. It's like where the government fails to help people and private sector doesn't do it because there's no profit in it for them, and the majority doesn't necessarily care about whatever your cause is, which is like a really mean way to say it, but I mean honestly, like they're like, well, I don't care about battered women, or I don't care about, because there's just not enough people that are battered women. And so what nonprofits are supposed to do is come in and be like, it matters, these are people that matter. That's how you start getting people to start giving their time and their money, and that. So That's part of your skill, is you have to realize, you have to sell that. You got to say, look, I understand that this isn't the thing you worry about every day, but it's important because, and then you got to have it already set. That's one of your skills.
Mm-hmm.
And do it and not sound like you're just trying to get money, which is very hard.
I think that's actually, and I could be totally wrong, but I feel like it's a common misconception that nonprofits should make money. Like, I just feel like one of the key differences between nonprofits and for profits is like with nonprofits, all of your decisions have to be based around the mission of the organization, whereas like a for-profit, it's just whatever can make us money at the time, and I don't think there's many nonprofits out there. Well, again, I could be wrong. I don't know if nonprofits are out there with the that are like, what am I trying to say? I just feel like with nonprofits, their goal is just to like break even. But if there is a surplus, I don't think any of them would turn it down, So I feel like nonprofits don't have to like be broke,
No, it still makes sense. And it actually, the beginning of the chapter says something about that. And it says that the difference is that when nonprofits make money, instead of giving more money to your board, which sometimes they do, you just reinvest it into your organization again. And that's like the big difference between all of them, because even the government doesn't do that. Like if they get the funding, they take it and then they'll give it to the post office or something. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go back to your organization. Mm-hmm. And so you're according to the book, like I don't know as much, but according to the book, you're 100% right. That's exactly it.
So I think that we can say that that's one of the unique skills that you would need to run a nonprofit, is identifying that, it's okay to have a surplus. You don't necessarily have to, be broke or run on the red, but at the same time, you have to be able to manage that surplus. It's not just like, oh yeah, as an agency or as a nonprofit, we're 100,000 in green. We're all gonna have, a big party or whatever, big dinner. It's like, no, well, that's not managing the resources properly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's about making the connection and making sure that you reinvest that money in the mission and what's important for your organization.
There's they're talking about how organizations will do like surveys and they'll go out and try to like make their stuff as efficient as it can be, and then they lose sight of the mission because they're trying so hard to like qualify, what they're doing. And so I mean, I think that comes with the strategic plan, the planning. It's like, okay, we got extra. Where do the extra profits go? What do we do with them? And I think of the drug sales places where they send out people to talk to doctors. Maybe you start teams that go out and talk to other organizations and say, hey, this is what we're doing. I don't know. Again, I don't know profits, and I'm probably naive on that. But I think for planning is a big part of that. Yeah. And then what kind of challenges would you say are unique to nonprofits?
I think we can connect it to the discussion we were having earlier about how you kind of have to understand your role and your capacity as a nonprofit leader, and your relationship, not just with other nonprofits, but with your donors. And I think that's really important. And, it's not easy. It's not something that you just can learn overnight. You really, really have to be strategic in the way you manage, your donors, and the way you continue to expand.
Well, that makes sense. What if you grow outside of your facility, but you're not making enough money to get a new facility or grow your facility? You're like right on the in between. What do you do at that point? I think that would be a unique problem to a nonprofit, but I think that could probably be solved by networking or having sister organizations or, partner organizations that like, hey, we need a little bit more room. We're going to have like I don't know. There's one at my work that comes to show people how to do, how to pick medical groups when you're doing Medicare. And they would come in and they'll talk to in one of our areas and sit down and go over their plans and see what their drugs are. And we dropped her.
No, are you recording though?
Yeah, she's coming back again. She said, Let's see if I can invite her.
Are you recording? You're recording it, right?
It's still recording. I don't know if that's good.
It should be. I don't know. God, no. I guess we can continue talking about it.
Hold on, let's see if I can. I'm trying to get her to come in. Oh, I don't know how to do that. IPN, invite by email, Gmail. Yeah, let's see. Sorry, Dr. Solar. Problems with nonprofits. 1 second.
Well, I think he had said in one of the classes was that if we ever run out of steam, that we can just talk about our personal experiences and how we can apply it in our careers and whatnot. So,
yeah, I'm concerned about her recording. So I think it's split. You're right. I think it stopped or she stopped, and then it hopped to me. Maybe, yeah, it did.
You're a host too, right? Or last time you were?
No, she was a host, but it popped to me because I'm not sure.
I still think it's recording.
And I don't know how to do a invite on her. Hold on. Maybe, no, not share. Invite a participant. Gmail. Oh, here. Well, I'm still trying to figure out. Okay, so more unique challenges of the organization. What do you say?
We talked about resources. We talk about retention, job retention. We talk about possibly like outgrowing your facilities, which that can be a big issue because if you can't afford a bigger facility, then you kind of limited to the services that you can offer. One of the other challenges I would say is maybe you have to make sure that you have a board that's fully supportive of the mission and they're truly invested in making sure that the nonprofit is running smoothly because ultimately your board is who's responsible of the success of your nonprofit. So you really need all their buy-in.
No, that's true. Hold on, I just sent her the email. Let me tell her, let her know. Yeah, this is the only thing about technology. You can lose people.
That's not very reliable. I'm old school. I'm old school. If I could, I would hook up my laptop to the Ethernet cable. That's how old school I am.
That's right. That's right. And play what was that game where you can Ethernet with everybody?
What was it? I don't remember. I wasn't a big gamer.
It was like Halo or something where you could play with everybody. Oh, hold on. I'm not even getting her on email anymore or on messaging. All right.
From those things.
Also, like you said, he said we can talk about our own experiences on it. So I'm trying to think of anything that I had to deal with. So I don't really do with nonprofit, but I do deal with government stuff. And
what do you do if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I work. I take claims from people. I take claims from people that are filing for disability, basically.
SSI.
Mm-hmm. And so, we do help people out, but it's all governed by the government. Like they're the biggest contributor. They're the ones do it. Like they set all the guidelines for us, which
basically, your role is more just kind of making sure that everyone's in compliance, right?
That's it. And we don't get to. It's not a culture where we're setting up everything. It's relayed to us.
Yeah. So I have a question. So to me, I think customer service is very important in nonprofit, for profit, public sector agency. How do you how do you feel like customer service? What kind of customer service do you feel your agency offers?
Um, I think that they trained us a lot, and we deal with people a lot. So I am trying to defeat the stereotype that government workers don't care. So I'm always on the phone calling people back. I'm trying to set up like where they can fax to me or they can come and see me. I don't like people getting lost in red tape because when that happens to me, I don't like it. You know. So it's kind of like I imagine like a nonprofit. Like you want to do the best you can and try to take away as many obstacles for people so that they can get what they need done. 'Cause, I mean that's the goal. The goal is to people achieve what they need.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say. What about for you? What do you? Oh, she's back.
There she is.
Guess who's back?
So we said Dominique was going to summarize discussion and close us off for the next 5 minutes.
9 minutes and 59 seconds to be. I'm sorry.
You got that, Dominique?
No, I didn't catch that. Say it again.
We're listening, okay? We just said that you were going to conclude our discussion. You have about 9 minutes to do that.
I don't know what happened.
I
I
think
did
you
that
did
earlier
it on
last year
purpose.
too. I don't know why my connection keeps going out.
So are you the lead or am I the lead on this now? Because it doesn't give me the option to make you the.
Don't make me the host, because if I log out again, then
Let me answer.
don't make me the
Let me answer your question, Dennis. In the nonprofit world, all three of us would be leaders. Okay, there's no leaders here. We're all leaders. We're all equal. Okay,
I'm gonna make you co-host.
we're all co-hosts. Oh shit. No, but I have to admit though, I really enjoyed reading the article about the Planned Parenthood. It was a really nice read, and it was very rich in information, and it was very easy to follow. I think it was like a very realistic scenario, or obviously it happened, and I think that's something. It's probably not as common on profits, but similar obstacles, maybe in a lower scale, are probably very realistic. So I really enjoyed the article.
We lost her again. She dropped.
Bam.
Oh no, there she is again.
Here we go. Sorry.
So I made you co-host. Well, see, the problem is, so we're both recording because I don't know how to do the recording. Just so you know. So like it has you on there as recording as well as I am, because we're both co-hosts. So for Dr. Szilard, if you're watching this, we dropped, but we're still talking about it, and we made the biggest understandings that I wish everybody would have got. But that's okay. Next week we'll do it again.
I'm ready to send this video to National Geographic. It's so rich in information.
That's right. Whenever someone starts a nonprofit, they need to take this tape and look it over again.
Yeah, you can watch this video. Strategies, character qualities. I don't think we've talked a lot about character qualities. What do you guys think makes a great nonprofit leader? Just just based on your knowledge, the stuff that we have learned in this class, what do you think makes a great nonprofit leader?
You need a little bit of machismo to
I completely pull that one out of my rear end.
but in a good Harvard way, because we're recording.
Dude,
No, but really, that's like real. That's good. I think that was a good topic. But I mean,
it's gonna be a hard topic, but yeah.
Insofar as what kind of skill set, how aggressive can you be, and how not aggressive do you have to be in order to keep a good balance? Because you have to be able to push it, but you got to be able to know where the line is. That's hard.
Right.
That's a real one.
I would use the word confidence. I think there has to be like a lot of confidence Like,
Right. That would be, I think, the equivalent, confidence.
yeah, you would have to be confident in what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, and in your ability to get people to buy in into your system. It's kind of like I
Hmm.
would relate it to like a sports coach. You're Phil Jackson. You know what I mean? You need to make
That's
sure
right.
you need to make sure you get your players to buy in, to support what you're trying to preach, in order for you to achieve the ultimatum, of a championship or running a successful nonprofit.
I think you have to be very selfless because I think
Yes.
maybe Dennis mentioned it earlier. There's so much sacrifice that comes with nonprofits, whether you are a big time nonprofit or just a small local one. Like both of them require sacrifice. So I think you really have to be selfless, because there will be times when you're just like, you know what, I'm over all this, but you know, staying true to what you signed up for.
That's true. And you have to be long-winded because you might be pumped by something, and then like a year later, you're like, man, I'm still doing this, you know. And I think that's why it's good
Right.
to grow people, like I don't know where I read that. Maybe it was in the other class, but it says you should be mentoring like at least 2 to 3 people if you're in any organization you're in, if you're in leadership position, just in case you can't do it anymore, you move on, so the organization keep on going, you know. And I think that's to make a good organization, it needs to be past you. Even though it might have been your idea, you're right. You have to be selfless. It was never meant for you anyway. You may reap the benefits at the time when you're doing it, but I don't think it's ever meant to stay with you. I think it's always meant to go to whoever's next and whatever the next iteration is going to be, you know?
And I think one thing too to add on to that is that you have to understand that that this non-profit, that it is you're not racing against anyone to achieve your goal. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to be patient and making sure that you're fully aware and understand that this is not going to happen overnight. Kind of going with what you said, that you have to be long-winded. It's just like the mission will forever remain the mission. You know what I mean? Once you establish your mission, it's not like you're going to change it. You know what I mean? It's just you just have to understand that you're gonna get there and make in unique ways and in different ways, and every year might be different the way you achieve your goal, but you just have to continue striving uh, for that success.
And I learned something new. I don't know, maybe it was like church or something like that, but it's like the struggles that you receive grow you. It shouldn't be like, oh man, this is hard, I don't ever want to do this again. That just it's something that you should be proficient in. If that's the problem that's coming up, and you might have not, it might have come out of nowhere, but as a leader, I mean, whenever something comes up, take notes, realize what needed to be done, and try to avoid that, or mitigate it, or figure out what you can do to avoid it from happening again. So and in a positive way, always in a positive light, not like I'm gonna get them or anything like that. Like, oh, I didn't see that. That was probably, it was an area I totally missed, and I need to make sure that that's covered next time we're going over a mission statement or we're doing whatever we need to do. And I think it's important to be fully aware. And again, good people help you. We're not going to know everything, and so like you said, selfless, good people, um, ability to network. Like you have to have some.
Yeah.
And the ability to talk for an hour on a video, I think, is a really good skill for leaders, nonprofits.
I mean, have you ever listened to a nonprofit leader or a director speak? Pretty much,
I
they,
10 minutes tops.
they say something that could have been said in a minute, but I mean that's part of the job. It really,
Yeah,
you
you
have to
got
have
to.
communication skills. You have to be a willing learner. You have to, you have to bring out your salesman uh, repertoire to when you come and speak to large groups of people, and the confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Let's see, go back to it. Oh, I lost it because I moved over.
What's our time at, Dennis?
We're at 1 minute and 38 seconds. We're that good.
Almost there.
I don't think we covered, maybe just a little bit, character qualities. I don't know how that's different than skills, Like if you're happy all the time, I talked about that. Like there's this unsaid thing that when you come in an organization, you need to be like excited and happy and come in, and it says it's not necessarily true. And people start thinking like it's fake, or they get upset by it because, or they get upset that you're not happy all the time because you're human. And you're like, man, today was just not a good day. And you're not allowed that leeway to be human. But I think that's something that you need to set up when you set up your organization. When you're doing your long-winded 2-hour speech, I'm going to have bad days. I'm going to have good days. So just bear with me. But the mission is this, so no matter with me or without me, if I end up leaving, it's still, the mission still continues. It's not going to end because I'm not here. These are all things you have to take into consideration. Something I would never think of if I didn't take a class like this. So I think that these things are good to help us go over everything.
Yeah, and we could add to that just understanding that the success of your nonprofit is not going to be measured by a quantitative aspect. It's not like, oh yeah, my nonprofit helped 10,000 people. That's not a true measurable way to determine the success of your nonprofit. I think you have to understand that you're going to make impact that in some ways might be unmeasurable because you really don't know, or you can't really document or track or show data on the impact that your specific nonprofit is having on an individual and in the family of that individual and just the community as a whole. So I think that's really important too, is just being able to accept that the way you measure your success is not going to be specifically driven by large numbers or by
It makes sense. Holistic. I like it. So we're done. We're over our time now. Dominique, is there any way you can drop two YouTube videos? The long one, short one?
Yeah, I'm gonna see how I can do that. So
if not, we can like draw pictures or something and show what happened and then drop it in there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll play around with it to see what I can do.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording right now. Well, actually, I shouldn't. I'll let you stop the recording, so it'll go into yours.